Pasok yung teacher nyo sa classroom, nakakunot yung noo, nakasimangot. Ganyan. Okay, class. Bring out one whole Manila paper. Let's have a very long quiz. One whole Manila paper daw. Gaano kahabang quiz yun? Intimidation. Teachers must not terrorize their students. It inhibits learning. At kayo namang mga estudyante, huwag kayong pasisindak. Huwag kayong patatakot. During the first day of school, mind game yan. Basahan, kumbaga. May it be the teacher, may it be your classmates, may it be the topic, do not get intimidated. Tulad ng next topic natin, ang daming natatakot sa adjusting journal entries. But there is no reason to be scared of journal entries. Madali lang yan. Let me show you how. Beautiful morning, Chapter 6, Adjusting Entries. Adjustments. The ultimate objective of accounting is the preparation of financial reports, statement of profit or loss, also known as the income statement, statement of changes in equity, statement of financial position, also known as the balance sheet, statement of cash flows, among others. The statement of financial position shows the financial standing of a business enterprise as of a given date. So alam na natin to. This is just a review. It shows assets, liabilities, proprietorship. The accounts involved here, as we all already know, are called real accounts. The statement of profit or loss shows the results of business operations for a given period or length of time. Accounts involved here are called nominal accounts. A completely accurate report on the financial position and performance of an enterprise cannot be obtained unless the enterprise is finally dissolved and liquidated, because only then can the final net income or net worth of the enterprise be determined precisely. Well, we do not have to dissolve and liquidate the business just for us to have an accurate picture of what is happening. Although we use estimates, such estimates are based on reasonable assumptions, and we need to prepare periodic reports in order to guide decision makers. Yun yung sinasabi dito sa last paragraph. The indefinite life of the business enterprise under the going concern assumption, the time period assumption, etc. This is just a review of the things that we have taken up, some of which in chapter 1 pa. Okay? Going concern assumption, we assume that the business has an indefinite life. Time period assumption, hinahati-hati natin yung life, yung indefinite life ng business into time periods. Okay? 1 year, 6 months, or 1 quarter usually. So may tinatawag tayong fiscal year. Any time lapse involving 12 months except pag nagtatapos siya sa December 31 is called a fiscal year. Okay? Sabi natin except pag nagtatapos ng December 31. Bakit? Because kung nagtatapos yung taon ng December 31, necessarily nag-start siya ng January 1. At ang tawag doon ay hindi na fiscal year but a calendar year. So a fiscal year may start at any date except January 1, and then a calendar year necessarily starts on January 1. Under the framework issued by then the ASC, Accounting Standards Council, which was replaced by the FRSC, the preparation of the financial statements every accounting period should be based on accrual accounting. I hope you still remember your accrual accounting. It means that income is recognized when earned regardless of when received, and expense is recognized when incurred regardless of when payment is made. So we have already extensively discussed all of this. The statement of financial position must contain all the assets, liabilities, and owner's equity at their proper values as of the last day of the accounting period. The income statement or the statement of profit or loss must contain all revenues and expenses applicable to the period covered. Sa balance sheet or statement of financial position, lahat lang ng assets, liabilities, and equity or proprietorship as of the last day of that period. Sa income statement or the statement of profit or loss, lahat lang ng revenues and expenses applicable to the period. Yun lang dapat ang kasali dun sa mga statements na yon. Mahalaga ito because this is the reason why we are preparing the adjusting journal entries. So lahat ng applicable sa future at previous accounting periods must not be reflected on the statement of financial position or the statement of profit or loss. That would be the subject matter for adjustment this morning. To achieve a more or less complete and accurate financial report, the effects of the transactions affecting more than one accounting period should be properly allocated over the periods benefited. This could be done through the adjusting journal entries. In the previous chapter, we made mention of the balance sheet accounts. We called them real accounts. The income statement accounts, we call them nominal accounts. Some of these, however, become mixed account. Pag sinabi nating mixed account, it is an account title that contains a real component and a nominal component. Ibig sabihin nun, magkahalo siya dun sa iisang amount dun sa account title na yon. For example, a 3-month rental of 12,000 was paid on June 1. 12,000 was paid on June 1 and recorded as rent expense. The rent expense is a nominal account, correct? It is an income statement account to be reflected in such statement. However, by June 30, the end of the accounting period, only part of the 12,000, napakahalaga nito. Okay, ito yung basics ng adjusting entries. So, dapat nakakasabay ka. Only part of the 12,000 is the rental applicable for the month of June. Correct, okay? Noong June 1, nagbayad ka ng 12,000. Pero ang sabi, yung 12,000 na yon applicable for 3 months. Noong June 1, nirecord siya as rent expense. There is nothing wrong with that. The company is using the expense method as we will be discussing later. Okay? So, noong June 1, walang mali doon. Noong June 30, kung hahayaan mo na ganun yun, doon na magkakaroon ng mali. Because the 12,000 is for 3 months and only 1 out of the 3 has been actually consumed. When teachers like me teach in front of a live audience, we derive satisfaction to some extent from the interaction with students. Yung mga simpleng pagtawa mo sa mga jokes namin, they mean something to us. They make us happy. But teaching in front of the camera is a different thing. We don't even know if you're there. We don't even know if you're listening. So, a simple like dun sa ating video or a simple present, sir, nandito po kami, nakikinig. We are watching, sir, will inspire us. When teachers like me teach in front of a live audience, we know that you're there. But teaching in front of the camera is not merely sharing our content. It means sharing our time, our devotion, and above all, our passion. So, yung simpleng pag-subscribe mo sa amin, it lets us know that you are there and we are here to continue what we are doing. So, ngayon pa lang, nagpapasalamat na kami. Diyan sa yung subscription, it inspires us. It inspires me to wake up every morning, prepare discussion materials, and continue what I am doing. So, thank you so much. Please continue sharing and liking and subscribing. Thank you. Ibig sabihin nun, an adjustment has to be made. The actual expense is only 1/3, while the 2/3 must be reflected as unused, unconsumed, or unexpired. Ibig sabihin nun, it is still an asset and not yet an expense. Reasons for adjustments. Tatandaan mo yung A1234, B12. Kasi, from time to time, babanggitin natin. Pag naka-encounter tayo ng adjusting journal entry, tatanungin kita, ano ba to? A1, 2, 3, 4, or B1, B2. Adjusting entries are necessary for the following reasons. Letter A, to apportion the mixed account into the real and nominal elements for, number 1, provision for depreciation. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng depreciation? Number 2, provision for doubtful accounts or bad debts. Number 3, adjustment for the expiration of prepayments of expenses. Number 4, adjustment for the realization of income collected in advance. Etong number 3, nagbayad ka in advance. Number 4, nangolekta ka in advance. Sa number 3, ikaw nagpakawala. Sa number 4, ikaw ang tumanggap. Letter B, to bring into the accounts unrecorded accrued items, accrual of expenses and accrual of income for 1 and 2 respectively. Pag sinabing accrual of expenses, this is the recognition of expenses that are already incurred but not yet paid. Accrual of income, recognition of income although it is not yet collected. Na pagsilbihan mo na, hindi mo pa nakokolekta. Ayan. Let's take the first one. Provision for depreciation is A1. Okay? Provision for depreciation. Property, plant, and equipment such as buildings, equipments, machineries, furnitures, etc., also known as the long-lived assets, are recorded at cost as an asset. Cost principle. These assets are expected to benefit the business for a number of years before they will be retired. The cost of a long-lived asset minus the scrap value, if any, is called DC, depreciable cost. The depreciable cost is allocated over its service life, also known as the useful life of the asset. As expense for the period, it is called depreciation expense. There are several methods used in computing depreciation of property, plant, and equipment. At this point, mahalaga na matutunan mo muna yung straight line method of depreciation. Other methods will be discussed in your higher accounting subjects, financial accounting subjects, such as the SYD or the sum of years digits method. You have your declining balance method. You have your other accelerated methods, etc. That will be discussed to you in the future. In order to compute the amount of depreciation to be charged to expense during an accounting period, there are 3 factors to be considered. 1. Cost. 2. Scrap value. 3. Useful life. Cost. The amount recorded as the value of the asset. Usually, if the asset is purchased, the cost involves the purchase price and all other amounts incurred necessary in bringing the asset to its intended use. Tulad ng sabi dito, this includes all expenditures relating to the acquisition and preparation for use. All other capitalizable costs plus the purchase price of the asset, if the asset is purchased. Residual or scrap value. The net amount which the enterprise expects to obtain from an asset at the end of its useful life after deducting the expected cost of disposal. So, bumili ka ng electric fan worth 1,000. After 5 years, sira yung electric fan kasi mahina pagkakagawa. Binenta mo dun sa magbubuti, magkano mo binenta? Binenta mo ng 40 pesos. Then, the cost is 1,000. The residual value is 40 pesos, 40 pesos. The useful life, tulad ng sabi natin, is the period over which the asset is expected to be used. Dun sa kaso ng electric fan, 5 years. Tulad nung sa example natin. Depreciable cost of a long-lived asset less the residual value. Ito yung sabi natin kanina, cost minus the scrap or the residual value. Straight line method of depreciation. The straight line method of depreciation is the most common method being used. It is considered the simplest method to follow. Straight line method is also known as your uniform charge method. Why? Because the depreciation expenses computed all throughout the useful life of the asset are uniform. Uniform charges. Pare-parehas. Under the straight line method, the annual depreciation is calculated by allocating the amount to be depreciated, that is the depreciable cost, equally over the number of years of the estimated life for the useful life of the asset. Ayun, nakasulat pala rito, uniform charge method. The formula for the computation of the annual depreciation following the straight line method is annual depreciation is cost minus the residual value, also known as your depreciable cost, divided by the useful life in number of years. Say for example, assume that an equipment was bought for 400,000 on January 1, 2020. The equipment is estimated to be used in the business for 10 years with an estimated residual value of 40,000 after. Okay, so 40,000 after the 10 years. So applying the formula that we have mentioned a while ago, annual depreciation would be cost minus the residual value. That would be 400,000 minus 40,000 divided by 10 years. Our annual depreciation under the straight line method would be 36,000. Itong adjustment entry na to, ganyan lagi ang adjusting journal entry for depreciation. So tatandaan mo na siya. Debit depreciation expense 36,000, credit accumulated depreciation 36,000. Brief description to record depreciation for the year. If the period covered by the report income statement is only 1 month, take note the 36,000 here that we have computed is for 1 year. So annual. Kung 1 month lang ang gusto mong kunin, ibig sabihin nun, 1 out of 12 nung 36,000 or you simply divide it by 12. Ibig sabihin for 1 month, 3,000 pesos lang. Then your journal entry for 1 month would have been, sana kung 1 month lang, debit depreciation expense, 3,000, credit accumulated depreciation, 3,000 lang. Suppose the equipment is acquired not on January 1 but on October 1. Ibig sabihin, October, November, December. Kung hanggang December ka, nag-a-adjust, 3 buwan. How much should be the depreciation expense for the calendar year 2020? Then, you would have been calculating only for 3 months. So, 3 out of 12, nung 36,000 would be 9,000. Then, by then, the entry would have been debit depreciation expense 9,000, credit accumulated depreciation 9,000 naman. In that particular scenario, kung October 1. The depreciation expense which we have debited is reported in the statement of profit or loss or income statement. The accumulated depreciation, being a contra-asset account, will be reported in the statement of financial position. Contra account, meaning deduction siya dun sa related asset account title, as we will show you later. To deduct the contra-asset account, the accumulated depreciation in this case, from the related asset account title, you will arrive at the carrying book value, CBV, or simply the book value. Ayan. Provision for doubtful accounts or bad debts. Alam ng accounting na hindi lahat ng utang nasisingil. And accounting provides for that. May mga tao kasi na makukunan. Pag umuutang, sobrang bait. Pero pag sinisingil, sila pa yung nagagalit. Pag nasalubong mo, lumiliko. Pagka hinabol mo, tumatakbo. O, ganun yun. May mga makukunat talaga. Provision for doubtful accounts or bad debts. The amount of loss the business expects to suffer due to uncollectibility of accounts receivable is called bad debts. The term bad debts is synonymous with the term doubtful accounts. We would prefer the term doubtful accounts. So for uniformity, ito yung gagamitin nating term all throughout the book. Uncollectible accounts and losses on receivables. We'll be using the term doubtful accounts more often all throughout this book. As we have said, the great percentage of business activities are carried on credit. Merchandise are sold on account, pautang, and services are rendered for future collections, pautang. It is seldom, however, that all accounts due from customers are collected. Because of this, the receivable, a real account, becomes a mixed account. Ganda naman ng paliwanag, di ba? Dahil daw hindi lahat nasisingil, yung receivable account, which is supposed to be 100% real account, it becomes mixed account. Kasi yung portion na hindi na makukolekta, it becomes nominal account. The portion, the receivable which is expected to be collected remains to be real, and the portion to be uncollectible, determined to be uncollectible, is labeled as nominal element. Methods of estimating doubtful accounts expense. There are 4 developed methods of estimating doubtful accounts expense, namely 1. Fixed percentage of total sales. 2. Fixed percentage of total credit sales. 3. Percentage of accounts receivable at the end of the accounting period. 4. An amount computed through the aging of receivables. Methods 1 and 2 are called the income statement approach, and 3, 4 are called balance sheet approach. Sa number 1, okay, fixed percentage of total sales, a certain percentage is multiplied by the total sales. Then you get your doubtful accounts expense. Yan yung nadiderive natin. Sa number 2, fixed percentage of total credit sales, a percentage is multiplied by credit sales. Kanina, total sales. Ibig sabihin, pag total sales, kasama yung cash at saka credit sales. Pagka naman credit sales, yung credit sales lang. And you arrive at your doubtful accounts expense. Okay, class. So that's the bell already. That's it for this meeting. So, ganun-ganun lang, class. A few minutes of your time every day, imbis na kung ano-ano yung pinapanood mo, just make it a habit to watch our videos bilang tulong na rin dun sa sarili mong pag-aaral. Why? Kasi tatandaan mo, hindi lahat ng nababasa mo ng mag-isa ay maririnig mo. At hindi din lahat ng mga naririnig mo ay mababasa mo. Tulungan yan. So with that, see you in our next meeting. See you in the next lesson.